Welcome to the Jonah Drake Show, hosted by Jonah Drake. The Jonah Drake Show starts now. And welcome back to the Jonah Drake Show. I'm your host, Jonah Drake, and today we've got our weekend picks and previews pod for NFL Week 3 and College Football Week 4, as we will get into our previews and our picks for some of the biggest matchups. We're going to run it like last week, where we had previewed some of the big games and then picked some of the lesser games for each college football and NFL. If you are watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please follow the channel. And on either, please leave a comment. No negative comments, though. We don't like that. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, we're going to start with last week's picks and go over them. Starting with Florida at Miami, our first college game of the week. Miami ended up winning 26-7. We took Miami minus 3.5. So that's both right. We also took them in the pick, so we got both of those right. Auburn at Oklahoma. We took Oklahoma minus 4.5, and we also took them as our pick. Oklahoma ended up winning 24-17, so we got both of those spread and picks right. This is where it starts to get troublesome, though. Illinois at Indiana. We took Illinois plus 4.5, and we took them in the pick too, and they ended up losing 63-10. So got both of those wrong. Our final college football highlighted game that we highlighted last weekend was South Carolina at Missouri. We took Missouri minus 3 and in the pick, and Missouri ended up winning 29-20, so we got both those right. Taking a look here at the rest of our spreads, we took Utah minus 3.5, Memphis plus 4.5, Washington State plus 20.5, Arizona State plus 2.5, and Ole Miss minus 13.5. We incorrectly got Utah minus 3.5, Washington State minus 20.5, but we did correctly get Memphis plus 4.5, Arizona State plus 2.5, and Ole Miss minus 13.5. If you're watching on YouTube, this is a mistake. I didn't even notice it until today, right before I was about to do this podcast. Right here it says Washington State minus 20.5. If you go down to the Washington State game, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, this has no bother to you, but it's supposed to be Washington minus 20.5, so just make that mental correction in your brains. In the picks, we took Utah, Arkansas, Washington, Baylor, and Ole Miss. As Texas Tech took down Utah, that was incorrect. Memphis took down Arkansas, that was as well incorrect. And Arizona State took down Baylor, also incorrect. Wins of the day were as Washington took down Washington State, and Ole Miss took down Tulane. Now on to the NFL. With our first highlighted game, we highlighted the Rams at the Eagles. We took the Eagles minus 3.5, and we took the Eagles in our pick. The Eagles ended up winning 33-26. Got both of those right. This is another mistake if you're watching on YouTube. The spread, it says Eagles minus 2.5. It is supposed to say Chargers minus 2.5. So just make that, if that has no apply to you if you're listening. But Broncos at Chargers, we took the Chargers minus 2.5 and them to win the game. Chargers won 23-20. Got both those right. Our final highlighted game of the weekend was the Lions at the Ravens. The spread, we took the Lions plus 4.5, but we took the Ravens to win the game. And the Lions ended up winning 38-30, so we got the spread, but missed the pick. taking a look at some of our other picks, we took our correct picks were the Bills over the Dolphins, the Steelers over the Patriots, the Jaguars over the Texans, the Chiefs over the Giants, the Buccaneers over the Jets, the Seahawks beat the Saints, the Colts beat the Titans, the Commanders beat the Raiders, the Bears beat the Cowboys, and the Bengals beat the Vikings. The Vikings beat the Bengals. Some of our incorrects were the Browns beating the Packers, as we had the Packers there. The Panthers beating the Falcons, as we as well took the Falcons. And the 49ers taking the Cardinals, as we took the Cardinals. So, overall, that puts us at, again, with the spread, 9-3. Our picks, 17-8, and in total, 26-11. That puts us at 70%. Pretty good for our first picks podcast of the year. We're looking to do better this week, though. And with that, let's just, we might as well just hop right into it. With our college football, picks and preview, we have our highlighted games, so LSU at Ole Miss, Oregon at Penn State, and Alabama at Georgia. Some other games that we're going to touch on is Indiana at Iowa, Auburn at Texas A&M, USC at Illinois, and Ohio State at Washington. So let's get into it with our first game, Oregon at Penn State. So, if you're watching on YouTube, we got ESPN pulled up yet again, which yet again is illegal. It hasn't been changed. But we got 16 subscribers, so nobody really cares. This one will be low scoring, but the start of it will be the same. Penn State's offense is going to throw everything it has as Oregon's defense early. The Nittany Lions have had 2 weeks to prepare, and Oregon just hasn't faced an offensive line and running back like Penn State's. Oregon travels to Penn State on Saturday night for a whiteout game in Happy Valley. The Ducks are bringing a young team that's playing well through 4 games. They only have eight starters in this game who played against Penn State in the Big Ten title game last year. This will be the first time that quarterback Dante Moore works with his offense in the noise. The offensive line has 3 new starters, and Oregon plays multiple true freshmen at receiver. The Ducks' offense is going to start slow, and I think they will get better throughout the game as they might be shooken by the environment early. For the Nittany Lions, they are coming off a bye. The home pressure is squarely on them to win. James Franklin is 4-2 against top 10 teams at Penn State, and with the team's stated goal of being a national title winner this season, they need to win to cement that idea, and that truly is what needs to be happened for Penn State to be taken seriously in the college football playoff. So as we get to our picks, we have Penn State is minus 3.5 on this game. So, getting into the picks, I like Oregon to start slow. As I said, I like Penn State to start hot. But I do think Oregon can come back and make that gap closer into the late second, early third quarter. Maybe I think they may win the middle 8. So, give me Oregon minus 3.5 points. But for the pick, I like Penn State. So give me the Nittany Lions to win the game 24-21 in a low-scoring affair where Penn State jumps out early to a 14-0 lead in the first quarter, and then from there they only score 10 points, and Oregon comes back and scores 21. But I still think that Penn State will get the job done. On to Alabama at Georgia. Kalen DeBoer was an offensive guru at Indiana the last time. Kalen DeBoer was the offensive coordinator at Indiana the last time Georgia football lost a game in Sanford Stadium in 2019. Alabama and Georgia have won a combined 10 of the last 11 SEC championships, with LSU's 2019 title as the only outlier. The Crimson Tide have won 7 and Georgia 3, including 2 of the last 3. Alabama is 9-0 under Kalen DeBoer, but it hasn't gone well away, where the Crimson Tide are 2-5 under Kalen DeBoer on the road. Those losses came at Vanderbilt, at LSU, at Oklahoma, in a bowl game against Michigan, and at Florida State to open this season. Why Alabama has an advantage? Georgia's secondary needs a bounce back after giving up 4 touchdown passes to Tennessee, including 3 scores of 32 or more yards. Alabama is more than capable of repeating that with Ryan Williams, who torched Georgia last season with 6 catches for 177 yards and a touchdown. And Jeremy Bowden, who has 15 catches for 275 yards and 3 touchdowns. Georgia needs Ellis Robinson and Daniel Hoganson to hold up with the secondary of Alabama. Georgia wants to show its overtime win at Tennessee, and its last game wasn't just a one good day for the Bulldogs, and that they are a top contender in the championship chase. Why Georgia has an advantage? The obvious answer is because Kobe Smart and Georgia get Alabama on its home field for the first time in 8 games with Smart as coach. Stockton is part of Georgia's offense that is averaging 209 rushing yards per game, a jump from 124.4 last season, and an average per carry from 4.1 to 4.5. Alabama was gashed for 230 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns in his loss at Florida State. Wide receiver Zachariah Branch also gives Gunnar Stockton an explosive play waiting to happen. So as we get back to our pick, we got Alabama and Georgia, 2 teams that have both had 2 really big wins this year. Oh no, Alabama has lost to Florida State, but Georgia has won. So Alabama came into the season ranked higher than Georgia, but that is not how it is case now. Georgia has just looked such better team as they took down Tennessee, while Alabama lost its biggest game against Florida State. So give me the Bulldogs minus 2.5, and I'll take them to win the game. For our last highlighted game, at the college level, we have LSU at Ole Miss. LSU's offense racked up 530 yards and a 56-10 win over Southern Louisiana last week, but the Tigers have yet to show that explosive offensive gear against a quality opponent. What the Tigers have shown is that they can go into a hostile environment and come out with a victory. That's what LSU did in Week 1 at Clemson. What in the moment seemed to be a momentous victory has been devalued by Clemson's subsequent struggles, as we touched on in the Clemson section on Tuesday. But a road victory over the Rebels would legitimize the Tigers as national title contenders. Running the football had already been a struggle for LSU. Then starting running back Caden Durham exited last week's win over Southeastern Louisiana with an ankle injury. His availability will be a key plot line for the Tigers' offense. Head coach Brian Kelly indicated this week that Durham was trending toward playing. But even if Durham is close to 100% healthy, the Tigers' offensive line will need to do a better job opening running lanes than it has so far this season. As for Ole Miss, the complexion of Saturday's showdown between number 4 LSU and number 13 Ole Miss looks far different than originally anticipated, thanks to an unexpected quarterback development for the Rebels. Division II transfer Trinidad Chambliss has burst onto the scene for Ole Miss amid the injury-related absence of starter Austin Simmons. As Simmons continues working to get his ankle 100% healthy, Chambliss is expected to be the man for Ole Miss. His dual threat capability and elusiveness as a gunner will change an LSU defense that has carried the Tigers to a 4-0 start. This marks the most comprehensive test that Ole Miss has faced. The Rebels have a pair of one-possession SEC victories under their belt against Kentucky and Arkansas. However, the Wildcats are offensively lifeless, and the Razorbacks have a superb SEC defense. By comparison, LSU is a complete team. In particular, the Tigers have speed with perimeter weapons such as Aaron Anderson and Baron Brown will test the Rebels' secondary. So, getting back to our pick for this game. Okay, and as for the pick, we have Ole Miss -1.5. To me, that number just seems too low for too highly favored to a team that's unproven in Ole Miss, where LSU has, even though Clemson is being a degraded value, that really is a hard environment. So I like Brian Kelly's Tigers to get it done in Mississippi. I was about to say Baton Rouge, but nope, it's in Ole Miss. Where does Ole Miss play? Oh, Oxford. Get it done in Oxford. The rest of the spreads. We have Indiana at Iowa. Indiana is favored -8.5. I like Indiana coming off a big win against against Illinois, and I think they will do the same to Iowa, as this is the first year that Iowa has not had a elite defense. For Auburn at Texas A&M, Texas A&M is favored -6.5. Texas A&M, once again, coming off a big win against Notre Dame. Auburn coming off a tough loss to Oklahoma. Give me the Aggies by 7. USC -6.5 at Illinois. Illinois coming off a huge loss to Indiana, as it really makes their playoff hopes pretty much impossible now. I think they will be not as what you would think, as they would be motivated. I think that they are down. I do not think that they can come out ready for this game. But USC still does have their playoff hopes alive. So give me the USC big, not by more than a touchdown. Give me USC by at least 14. And then Ohio State at Washington. I think Ohio State can continue its number one run. I think they're going to easily roll into the Penn State game undefeated, and this just is a little bit of a stop sign in Ohio State's schedule, as they easily roll past Washington. On to the rest of the picks. So we here's another rest of the spreads. If you're watching on YouTube now, why am I noticing how many arrows the slides have? But yep, says rest of the spreads. Should say rest of the picks. But I took every game minus the spread, so that means that everyone I took Indiana, Texas A&M, USC, and Ohio State. Now on to the NFL. Two previewed games are the Ravens at the Chiefs and the Packers at the Cowboys. Into our first game, the Ravens at the Chiefs. At 1-2, teams such as Kansas City, Baltimore, and Denver have already dug themselves into a hole. Rebounding from such a start to reach the playoffs isn't impossible. However, since 1990, only 24.9% of teams, 93 of 374, that haven't opened the year at 1-2 have gone on to reach the playoffs, and only 4 out of 165 teams, 2.4%, to start 0-3 have rebounded to advance to the postseason. Meanwhile, only 35 have come back from 1-3 starts to reach the playoffs. So that's really big for some of these teams, as only 35 teams ever has come back from a 1-3 start to reach the playoffs. and the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. One of them is going to go start the season 1-3. We don't know who yet, but one of them will, and maybe they'll up the number to 36 this year. We don't know. The Ravens lead the NFL in scoring with 37 points per game, but their defense can't stop anybody, yielding a league-high 415 yards per game and 32 points per contest, second most in the league. The Ravens have also managed only 2 takeaways. Couple those struggles with 2 back-breaking fourth-quarter fumbles by Derrick Henry against Buffalo and Detroit, and their 1-2 record makes sense. The Ravens badly missed injured top 2 defensive tackle Nenhabed Mudakoba and edge rusher Kyle Van Noy, as we talked about that last Thursday, as them missing those guys when we previewed the Ravens-Detroit game. They'll need other defenders to shoulder larger loads in their absence. Fortunately for Baltimore, things in the AFC North are also unstable elsewhere. Cincinnati will be without Joe Burrow for much of the season. Cleveland is limited by shaky quarterback play, and the Steelers are inconsistent. If Henry can secure his sudden fumbles, and if the defense can start getting some key stops, the Ravens have winnable games ahead. 3 straight home games, Texans, Rams, Bears, and a road trip to Miami. And that could improve their positioning by the midpoint in the season. For the Chiefs, we are not accustomed to seeing the Chiefs disjointed, plagued by miscommunications and lacking explosiveness. The front office invested in the offensive line this offseason. However, Patrick Mahomes and coach Andy Reid continue to wait for improvement. Mahomes hasn't gotten rid of the ball more quickly, and shots downfield have been ineffective. Meanwhile, injury and suspension and age have robbed the Chiefs of the great potency that they once enjoyed at each of their skill positions. The second half of Sunday's win over the Giants seemed to reflect some improvement out of the offense. Was that a get-right game? The Chiefs needed it to have been this week as they host the Ravens, who have plenty of motivation to rebound after getting losses to Buffalo and Detroit. This isn't unfamiliar territory for the Kansas City Chiefs, which opened the 2021 season 1-2 before eventually finishing 12-5. The healthy return of wide receiver Xavier Worthy and fellow wideout Rashee Rice's Week 7 return from a 6-game suspension will help, and if the young left side of the offensive line, rookie tackle Josh Simmons and second-year guard Kingsley Samatanu steadily improves, the Chiefs have hope. The playoffs remain a realistic goal, but chances for a top seed and home field advantage seem bleak. On to the spread. I think the Chiefs do not look... Oh, the spread, Baltimore is -2.5. The Chiefs do not look like the normal Chiefs. As they were saying, in 2021, they went 1-2, but still, they looked so much better than they do now. These Chiefs are not the same Chiefs. We've seen them get off to bad starts, but never like this. Even though the Ravens do have big defensive issues, the Chiefs have offensive issues too. So, I like Baltimore -2.5. Give me them to win by a field goal. For our final highlighted game of the day, we have the Packers and the Cowboys, where this one will be known, obviously, by the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers trading Micah Parsons earlier this season. So this is Micah Parsons' revenge game for the Packers. Micah Parsons is set to take the field against his former team exactly a month after the Green Bay Packers acquired the star pass rusher in a blockbuster trade with the Dallas Cowboys. Parsons is pretty sure he's never been in the visitors' locker room at AT&T Stadium. The Packers committed 14 penalties on their 13-10 loss at Cleveland. that represented their highest penalty total in a single game since 2010, when they had 18 in 2017, lost to the Chicago Bears. Green Bay's 24 penalties over its past 2 games represent its biggest total in 2 games since 2010 as well. The good news for the Packers is they went on to win their most recent Super Bowl title during that 2010 season. So, yes, the Packers have racked up a bunch of penalties in the past 2 weeks. So that is one thing to look at. But also, the biggest thing is Micah Parsons, as I do think that he will have a big impact on this game. Dallas performed well in the NFL in that NFL opening loss to Philadelphia. Then the defense was horrifically bad when Dallas found a way to beat the New York Giants, and again in a loss to Chicago, which dropped its first 2 and hasn't had a winning season in 7 years. As that's talking about the Bears. Both the Packers sit atop their division, tied with Minnesota and Detroit, both at 2-1. And Dallas is in third in their division, only beating out New York as they are 1-2. This is a big game for both teams, as the Packers could fall to even and start falling behind in their division, while they have one of the biggest Super Bowl hopes in all of football. While Dallas needs this to not fall down. If they go 1-4, they're basically out of the question for. 1-3, they're out of the question for the start of the season, and it's just Philadelphia's and Washington's race. So Dallas really does need this in a game win perspective more than the Cowboys, but the Cowboys need this as a sense of just getting back after that horrifically bad performance against the Browns. The Packers are favored by 6.5 points. I think that is just too much. I think this is a closer game. This is going to be a closer game than everyone realizes. So give me the Cowboys plus 6.5. And then for my pick, we have the I'm taking the Packers. I still think they will win, not by 6 points. Not by 7 points, but still I think that they can win the game by, I'm thinking like a 20-24 type of deal here. Maybe up in the 32, maybe 32-28. That's what I'm going with. Give me Micah Parsons to have 2.5 sacks. I think he has a big day. So, give me the Cowboys. Sorry guys, I forgot to, if you're watching on YouTube, I forgot to hide this game. Between the Bengals and the Broncos. For the rest of the picks in the NFL, we have the Viking and Steelers in the first, no, gotta get used to that week 1 Brazil game. The second international game of the year, in Dublin, Ireland. One of the last first that I can remember for the NFL in Dublin, Ireland, and it's my favorite team, the Steelers, facing off against the Vikings to kick off the European NFL schedule, as we will later have games in London, Madrid, and Berlin. So with that, give me the Steelers. Commanders looked great last week as Marcus Mariota looked just as good as Jaden Daniels as the Commanders take on the Falcons. However, the Falcons did not look good as they took on the Panthers and lost 30-0. So give me the Commanders. Saints at Bills, not really too much explaining to do. Give me the best team in the AFC. And the Bills. Browns at Lions. Browns had their win last week. Lions, after coming off a loss to the Packers in week 1, they have put a bunch of points on the Bears, it was 58 to something or whatever. And then they just came off a big win against the Ravens. Even though the Browns had their moment, give me the Lions. Panthers at Patriots. Patriots coming off a tough loss to the Steelers. Panthers coming off a big win against the Falcons. I think this is Panthers' year finally get back in that race for the NFC South. I don't think they're gonna win it. I don't think they're gonna make the postseason, but I think they could contend with the Buccaneers as they're the second best team in that division. At least right now, give me the Panthers. Chargers at Giants. Pretty easy here. Giants are looking like one of the worst teams in the NFC. With Russell Wilson has played absolutely horrendously. Chargers, on the other hand, are looking like the best team in their division, in a division that's absolutely loaded with the Chargers, Chiefs, and Broncos, and the Raiders in there to give each team a little scare. Give me the Chargers. Eagles at Bucks. Buccaneers coming off a big win to the Jets. Got a little scary there at the end as the Jets took the lead on that blocked kick that we talked about on Tuesday. But the Eagles have also but they were the ones who suffered a block kick. Not suffered, who issued a block kick to the Rams. I think the Eagles get it done against the Bucks. Texans at Titans. Both these teams are, I think, Texans are out of their prime. It's no longer C.J. Stroud's year, and they had their good, 4-year run in that division, but the Titans are also one of the worst teams in the NFL. Texans can still beat the Titans, though. Give me the Texans. Colts at Rams. One of the, probably, I'd argue this is the biggest game that we didn't preview. Colts are 3-0. Rams are 2-1. The Colts have only yet been tested by the Broncos, as they have beaten the Dolphins and the Titans. Give me the Colts to upset the Rams and keep their undefeated season a streak as the Rams fall to 2-2. Jags at 49ers. I took the Jags to upset the Texans last week. Give me the Jags again. I'm riding the Jags until they fail me. Bears at Raiders. Bears coming off a big win to the Cowboys. Raiders have just looked mediocre, but the Raiders are the number one team. Never overlook the Raiders. The Raiders are the team in the NFL this year that I look. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs, but they will scare some good teams, and they will upset some good teams later this year. Give me the Bears, but watch out, Bears. They might be coming for you. Jets at Dolphins. Two teams that don't look at all whatsoever good. I don't really know what else to say. Jets just look a little less bad. Give me the Jets. Bengals at Broncos. You can always see I forgot to put the animation on this one, so I took the Broncos, but I really think the Bengals are out of it without Joe Burrow and without a defense. With a defense that doesn't exist. Give me the Broncos to kind of get out of their lows as they can get back to their high hopes of the season and maybe make a playoff run coming into the end of the first quarter of the season. So that's all for my picks, as this is week 3 in the NFL season. Wait, this is week 4. Wait, is this week 4? No way this is week 4. Oh my gosh, this is week 4. I've been saying it this whole time. Well, after this week, we're a quarter of the way through the NFL season. So, let's check in a little bit on fantasy here. As my fantasy teams, here's one thing that I want. One tip that I would like to show you guys here. Where's my team? Oh, my bad, yes. Man, I'm not logged in on Google. That was on. Sorry guys, it'll take a minute because I didn't think I'd have enough time to do this, but we'll have. I didn't have this prep because I didn't think that we'd have enough time, but we've actually been running good. We got, I think, about 36 minutes through the show. So, here's my ESPN. We'll get, there we go. There you go. Okay. So, onto my fantasy team. We drafted a hockey team, this week. But, into here. Some of my tips for this week include, do not pick up the Rams defense as they will play the Colts. The Colts, every team they faced have had negative points. Dolphins week 1, -2. Broncos week 2, -5, and Titans last week had like -10 or whatever. I had the Dolphins in this league in week 1 and the Broncos in my other league that I showed you guys in week 2. So do not use the Rams defense. I had them in, I think it was this league. Slotted up, and I picked up the Chargers. I also picked up the Chargers. I really do like the Chargers as they take on New York Giants this week. If you can pick up the Chargers, that's a great pickup in your league. Jordan Mason is a great pickup here. I bet he's been picked up in your leagues, but if you're in a noob league, pick up Jordan Mason. As Aaron Jones is out. In my other league, where'd it go? I really do like Quinshon Judkins. Quinshon Judkins is now finally all that stuff about him is over, and he's finally the starting running back for the Cleveland Browns. So really do like Quinshon Judkins if you need to put him in. Travis Etienne, yet again. Travis Etienne has been awesome. Also, Bashal Tutin, so if you want to pair Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin, that would be a great pair because Tank Bigsby's gone. So you can get those two together. If you're suffering from CeeDee Lamb, I think a great wide receiver to put in is Quentin Johnston if you happen to have him on your bench. I have Quentin Johnston on my bench. I picked him up to put in this week. Some other maybe guys that you could put in over CeeDee Lamb. You could put, or Mike Evans. Mike Evans is as well out. You could get Keenan Allen in there, as I have him in one of my leagues. But I didn't really prepare too much for fantasy football because I didn't think that we would have had the time to do it. One funny thing is, in both of my leagues, I have Brian Thomas Jr. and Quentin Johnston as my wide receivers. And, I also have the Chargers defense. The one reason why I don't do this before Tuesday is because half the people that listen to this podcast are in my fantasy leagues, and I do not want them to know my waivers, so... I mean, if you guys agree to not steal my waivers, I'll start giving you guys waivers tips. If you know who you are, you can text me. But other than that, I didn't think that this show would be so short. We got 40 minutes about. Thank you guys for listening. We're gonna get out on Monday. We're gonna get out our playoff baseball picks. And I'm not decided yet if it's going to be in a short or just a short, like, mini 5-minute episode, depending on how much content I think I can fill. But that'll be out on Monday. On Tuesday, we'll get our regular schedule. Tuesday or Wednesday. I haven't really decided yet. I'll look into it, like, on Monday. Depending on how my schedule works. We're either going to combine the picks and the reaction on Wednesday, or we're once again going to do 2 separate on Tuesday and Friday. We're moving away from Thursday as our picks day because football, now that I've moved to middle school football, that's when our games are, so don't really have time to do a podcast on Thursday, so we're either going to do a big long podcast on Wednesday, or 2 30-minute podcasts on Tuesday and Friday. But without that, see you guys later.